we trust that the engagement with us today will be productive, insightful, and rewarding. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, DC, for welcoming us to this event. Now, at this moment, I will hand over to Tapering so that they can take us through the second part of our program and then guide us in terms of the activities of tonight. Thank you very much. Over to you,
Thank you very much, and thanks so much for that warm welcome. And we are very happy to be here. So Comrades really loves to interact with our client base, which are the runners. So thank you. I'll take you through the evening as we go. But first up, it is me, and actually, sorry, this is too formal for me. Hope you don't mind. I need to be able to move because that's what we're doing. We're running. So essentially, the road shows, the novice shows, the webinars, the podcasts, all of these things are put together with three main goals in mind. Okay? We want you to start Comrades. So that's very important. And we provide all these tools to help you guys to qualify and then start. But it's equally important that you get some enjoyment out of the day and that you can actually run this race and have a good time. And then, of course, we mustn't forget that we all want to leave Pietermaritzburg on the 14th of June with a medal. And those are really the three goals for all these talks. So with that in mind tonight, I'm going to take everyone through the route. So before I jump into that, how many people in the room are lining up for their first Comrades this year? Brilliant. And how many in the room think you aren't novices anymore, but this is your first up run? So the novices can keep their hands down, but those that have run them down still need to do it up. So you guys are also still novices, so we will go through that route tonight. Then I'm going to take you through why runners struggle to finish Comrades, the long run, which is quite an important piece of the puzzle. How are you going to save 20 minutes on race day? Or in reality, it's how do you avoid losing 20 minutes, which could put your medal in danger. I'll take you through the final taper and what do we do if we get into the second. So those are the main points for this evening. So the route, that is it. That is what we are doing on the 14th of June. We are practically starting at sea level. We are finishing at 600 meters above sea level, and you are going to run 1,700 meters of uphill and about 1,000 meters of downhill over the course of that race. Most people know the Big Five, and they mentally prepare for the Big Five, but the reality is that that is only a part of the test that Comrades will do for you. And one of the things that I kind of like about the uprun is that once it starts, you know exactly what you have come for. So we start in Durban, and it's not even 800 meters before you run up your first hill to get onto the highway. So we know immediately what we're doing, and then just before the 5K mark, we will run over Tollgate. So it's not a very big hill, but again, you just can feel things are building up. At around about 7-8 kilometers, you'll then get the first quite significant climb, 45th cutting, and then you'll run a little downhill, which, to be honest, is just about the last significant down that you'll be running for quite some kilometers. Next, you finally get to the first of the Big Five, Cowie's Hill, just before we get into Pine Town. And so on the up run, that is at around 13 kilometers or so, and then we run through Pine Town and just get a little break from all the uphill. Because one of the things don't be too concerned by the steep. Sorry, if this is how steep the race really was, none of us would make it to the finish. So there are climbs, but they are all gradual. But what is always interesting for me is that we've got these hills with their names. And the international athletes in particular, if you see an international athlete, you just run where you can hear them. Because they're quite funny when they start complaining about the hills. And it's because from the bottom of 45th cutting, pretty much all the way through Westville until you get to Cowies, that is all up. It's a bit flatter than the map looks here through Pine Town, and then we get on to Fields Hill. Now Fields Hill is long, but it's only the first little bit of Fields Hill that is steep. And the interesting thing about Fields Hill is that we are all a little bit scared of it. Like when you get to Comrades, you are super fit, and that is quite early in the race. It comes at around 20 kilometers into the race, and honestly, besides that first little bit where you go right and then a little bit left, the rest of Fields Hill is quite gradual. And it's the first sign that you will get of what kind of day you're going to have. And most of us will find it quite easy. And the trick is not to take advantage of that. But more, I'll talk about that a little more later. Okay? Once we get off Fields Hill, we go through Kloof, then we're into Winston, and we just climbing until we get to Hillcrest, which is a really great spectator spot. So I didn't mention that, but one of the nice things about getting to Pine Town is also it's now starting to get light. So we're not running in the dark anymore. You get your first sense of what the Comrades spectators are going to be like. And from that point onwards, there's a fairly steady flow of spectators and people clapping and cheering. And then when you get here in Hillcrest, there is 4 rows deep of people just there cheering for you, and the atmosphere is unbelievable. And we get to the third of the big 5, and that is Bowers Hill. So that will take us to 36 kilometers. And what that means is that we have been running uphill for 36 k's. There are a couple of short breaks, but really, on the whole, that is the challenge of the up run, is that the first 36 k's really are mega tough. And then we get a nice long, so these little ups, there are some little ups there. Those are exaggerated because GPS isn't super accurate. Most of this is a really nice long downhill until the 44k mark. Some small ups, but really nothing to worry about. But at least you get a little bit of a break from all that uphill running. There's again thousands of people that are waiting for you at halfway to cheer you on. And then we get to what for me is absolutely the hardest climb on the day. So from 44 to just short of 50 kilometers, we climb in Chunga. And Chunga is one of the steeper and one of the longer hills. And again, just a really great spectator spot, people welcoming you when you get to the top of Nchanga. The good news from Nchanga is that you've pretty much gotten close to the second highest point on the course, and although this looks a little bit up, really the running between here, around 50 k's, so that is still a little bit up, from 50 k's until you get to Unlost Road, which is the highest point on the course. This is a very runnable section of Comrades. We go through Harrison Flats, we go through Cato Ridge, we go through Camperdown. Those are all famous parts of the route that you would have heard on TV. And then we get to Unlost Road, the highest point on the course. lots of people there telling you that it's downhill from here. Good news is most of it is. So from Umlas Road to the bottom of Little Polly's is just, if you can run, some of the nicest running that you'll do. And finally we get to the last of the big five, and that's Polly Shorts. Now, people always forget about Little Polly's, even when we've run Comrades a few times, and you will know that you're on Little Polly's because you'll think to yourself, Polly Shorts wasn't so bad. Then you know, I'm not at Polly Shorts yet. Polly Shorts is bad, it's late in the race, you are tired, you're sick of running uphill, but I've got some good news for you. There's only 3 types of people that need to run when they're on Polly Shorts. So if you are trying to win Comrades, if you are in danger of missing the cutoff, and then for the rest of us, while we're walking up Polly Shorts, you must keep an eye on the camera. So there will be 2 cameras on each side of the road near the top. You need to look at those cameras, because if the light is red, you're on TV and you're going to start running. If the light is, there's no light, you just keep walking, okay? And then from there we really have 7Ks. There's a couple of little pools, but they're really short. Like literally you can see the end of the route. So you'll be like, oh, another climb, but you can see it's just there. So you can walk and then you run again. And most of those last 7Ks really are downhill. So guys, you can see that it is a tough challenge, but honestly, if it was an impossible challenge, we wouldn't have 24,000 people who entered faster than it takes to run Comrades. So in 10 hours, this race sold out, and that would not happen if it was not possible to finish this race. Okay, so now we're going to get into getting you to that finish. So you'll notice I start at 2, and you'll see why in a little bit. But why do people not finish Comrades? So there's a very small percentage of people that don't finish Comrades because they just haven't trained properly. And there might be one of them sitting in the room tonight. I won't mention his name, but you better start training soon. Okay? So poor training or lack of preparation sometimes leads people not to. But that's like less than 2% of people who don't finish. Also, a similar number, it's quite a small number, around 2% less than that, it's 1.something% of runners just really cramp up to the point that they cannot move anymore. Illness contributes a reasonably big number, and unfortunately, when we go into late May and early June, it is cold, it is dark, particularly up here in the Highveld, and there is a lot of flu and so on that goes around. So we really do want to try and avoid getting sick as we go into race day. Nausea is a big one, and that is honestly one of the main reasons why we always have a dietitian. Nikki de Villiers is here tonight to talk at these novice seminars, because if you get your nutrition wrong on race day and you start to feel sick, it gets very difficult to finish. So that's probably, these aren't in order from 2 to 8, but that's probably the 3rd or 4th biggest reason. People taking medication, in particular anti-inflammatories and muscle relaxants. Guys, don't do it. We also get, I don't want to use the word a lot, but we get more than we would like to that end up in the medical tent because they've taken anti-inflammatories. Nothing stronger than a Panado on race day. Okay, and your kidneys are already at compromised function when you are doing Comrades, and if you take anti-inflammatories, that just compromises that further. Okay, quite a big one actually is burnout. So people have been training for Comrades since January. Now, if you follow the things that I do, the podcast, the webinars, you'll know that I've been holding everybody back. until March. And now, March is when we really should be starting to train for Comrades. But if it's all getting a bit much, especially in May, and you just feel like, geez, I wish Comrades could come and be gone, that's not how you want to start Comrades. We need to be mentally fresh. So if you start to feel like, yo, this is all getting a bit much, then I really encourage you to just take a short break, okay? 7 to 10 days, feet up, rest. That freshness will really help you on race day. And then finally, my least favorite one is people just deciding on race day they're going to try new nutrition or a new race strategy or a new something. As we are working towards this race, for most of us it's been months, for some of us it's been years. Don't mess that up by experimenting on race day. And my favorite one is that I stand on the side of the road. So I am running Comrades this year, but the last time I ran it was in 2017. Okay? So 9 years. I almost waited a whole green number before I ran Comrades again. But when I stand on the side of the road and I see people running Comrades in the Comrades shoe, now you can only buy that at the expo. So that means all those people just ignored me and they wore new shoes on a race day. So if you're going to do that, you're going to run Comrades in the Comrades shoe, then you need to go to Mr. Price Sport this week, and you go and buy the Comrades shoe is going to be the magenta, not the Magneto. It's the Magneto. So it's going to be the Magneto. So if you're going to run in the Comrades shoe, you go and buy that Magneto and you train with it. Okay, and then number one, the biggest reason why people do not finish Comrades, 68% of runners who do not finish Comrades start with an injury. So if you get injured, it's super important that you deal with that injury, get it sorted out, because that is actually the biggest reason why people don't finish Comrades. So how do we try? Well, we try and prevent them first. So that's important. We like to follow, when it comes to injuries, we like to follow the Price method. The P is for doing strength, so that we actually try our best to prevent ourselves from getting injured. Okay? Then if we get sore, if we hurt ourselves, we get injured, the first step is we take a day or two off. We rest. We apply ice to the injured area, compression if we can, and elevation. So it will be almost certainly be your legs, foot, knee. You lie, legs up, so that we can get that inflammation down. The type of injuries that we get from training for a race like Comrades will almost definitely clear up with 48 to 72 hours of rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And if after 2 to 3 days of rest you're still sore, then you need to get to a physio. Okay, and if you follow those steps, you will not miss more than 7 to 10 days of training, maximum. And if you miss 7 to 10 days of training, that is not going to impact your race. And most important, you're not going to line up injured and risk not finishing. Okay, illness, I'm going to just breeze through that quickly. We do not want to train or race with viral illness. The most obvious signs of viral illness is fever. So if you are sick, not feeling good, and you have a temperature, you almost certainly have a virus, and you shouldn't be exercising, and you definitely shouldn't be racing Comrades. So in race week, if you have those kind of symptoms, you do want to go and see a doctor and make sure that it's safe for you to compete. And when I'm training for Comrades and trying to decide should I train or not, I use heart rate to make that decision. So if your heart rate increases more than 10% above your normal resting heart rate, so in my case, My resting heart rate is about 43. So if I wake up and my heart rate is in the 50s, I don't train. That tells me that I've got something that's really going to put me at risk if I'm training. If it's only up, it's sitting at like 48, I'll probably go and train. I won't do a high intensity session, but I'll do something. And so that's a good way of deciding, should I or shouldn't I train? Right, let's start getting into some of the fun stuff, preparing. One of the big things that we need to go through for Comrades is the Comrades Marathon Long Run, and the question that I always get asked is, how far should it be? Okay. So I'm going to answer that question tonight, taking two things into account. People that are going to be running 2 oceans, and people who are not going to be running 2 oceans. So if you are running 2 oceans, that is your Comrades Long Run. It's 9 weeks out from Comrades, so that is a little bit far away. So what we'll then do is 4 weeks later, 5 weeks from race day, you will just top that up by doing a 40 to 45 kilometer long run. Not another ultra marathon. You don't need to do another ultra marathon. If you are not doing 2 oceans, as a novice, you will then do 50, that is enough, 50 kilometers, 5 to 6 weeks before Comrades. I like 6 weeks for novices because a lot of novices are not just novices to Comrades, but they also started running to run Comrades. So they are new to running. And 6 weeks really gives you enough time to absorb that training, absorb that long run, and not to line up at Comrades time. And then the most common question I've been asked in the last 2 months is, can I run Cape Town Marathon? Because it's 3 weeks before Comrades, okay? And can I run it is the wrong question. The question you should be asking is, should I be running a marathon 3 weeks before Comrades? Now again, for novices, that answer is absolutely not. So if you are a novice, and in particular if you are new to running, doing a marathon 3 weeks before Comrades is going to compromise Comrades. There is no question about it. If you are a more experienced runner, you still shouldn't do it, but you probably can. And I can tell you that from next year it's only going to be 2 weeks. So it's actually the only year that you could do both. At 2 weeks you'd really be crazy to do both of those races. Okay, so we've covered how far, we've covered when. Now what do we want to get out of that long run? Why do we do this really long run? Because we already know that past 30 kilometers, 32 kilometers, past that point, we actually start getting what we call diminishing return. So in other words, the cost of what you're doing probably isn't worth the gains that you are getting. But the reason why this long run is actually quite important is twofold. Number one, none of us, including myself, run easy enough in training to know what it feels like to run easy enough in the first 30 kilometers of Comrades. It's the biggest reason why so many people go too fast in Comrades. So when I started as the Comrades coach 17 years ago, or 17 Comrades ago, almost 18 years ago, there were less than 10 people running negative splits. And that's because that's how we were being taught to run Comrades. But as soon as I started in this job and I started looking at this profile, I was like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that people are running that faster than they're running that. It doesn't matter that it's 90 kilometers. That is mad. If this was a 10K, you'd be running this miles faster than running that. And I'm very pleased to say that as of last year, there were well over 1,000 people. So it's still not enough people. But the more people who run the race properly, the more likely we are to get those negative splits. Okay. So the long run is there for you to practice for Comrades, to get it right so that you run at the right speed. If you run a 4-hour marathon, that means you're going to run a 10-hour Comrades. So if you run a 4-hour marathon, you're probably training somewhere around 6 to 6:20, 6:30 per kilometer. But on Comrades race day, you need to run like 6:40, 6:45. I'm doing a quick maths right in my head. But it's about 30 seconds, give or take 30 seconds per kilometer slower to run Comrades race pace than to run your easy training pace. So the Comrades long run, one of its big things is to practice race pace so that when you get to Comrades, you can run that pace. And the second thing is that your nutrition will land different at that pace. So Nikki's going to give you a really good talk tonight. You're going to go out, you're going to practice your nutrition. But then when you do your Comrades long run, you need to take the nutrition and see how it makes you feel different when that intensity is down, so that you can just adjust your nutrition for race day a little bit. Okay. So those are the two reasons why that long run is just super important. We're going to do it 5 to 6 weeks before race day. If you're not doing 2 oceans, and if we're not doing 2 oceans, we're going to do 50K. We do 2 oceans, then we're going to do it 4 weeks before, but we're going to do 40 to 45. Okay. And then the really cool thing about that long run is that now we're in taper time. So how do we taper so that we make sure that we get the best out of our training and we have the best performance that we can have on race day? So for the week after that long run, you're going to take it quite easy. So if you're 6 weeks out, you're going to have an easy week afterwards just so that your body can recover. And then you're going to have one more full week of training, and then we are going to move into the final 3 weeks of when we taper. Okay, so in 3 weeks to go to Comrades, we're still going to run a very normal week from Monday to Friday, but on the weekend, we're going to slash our mileage down. We've been running at least 25 Ks every weekend, 25 to 30. This weekend, you're going to run a maximum of 20 to 25. Then, with 2 weeks out, you're going to run 75% of your weekly training load, and on the weekend, you're going to run between 10 and 15 kilometers, so a lot less. And then when we move into that final week, we're going to slash what we did the previous week. We're going to do a maximum of 50% half. So if your Wednesday long run, for example, was an hour and a half, or an hour 15, that means that 2 weeks out, you're going to cut that down to between an hour and an hour 15, and then that means in your final week, you're going to run a maximum of 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what that run was, okay? But the really important thing for me in race week is that if in doubt, leave it out. So my motto that I have for race week is only the run that I do can hurt me. So if I do one run too many, that's the one that can hurt me. So in race week, I do still run. But if I have any doubt, if I wake up and go, should I or shouldn't I? If I'm even thinking that, the answer is I shouldn't. Then I leave it out. It's better to do too little in that last week than to do too much. Okay. Now, one of the right reasons why Comrades is best race in the world. It's certainly my favorite race. I've done New York, I've done Boston, I've done Berlin, I've done Amsterdam, I've done London. So I've done many of the so-called majors, and nothing compares to the start of the Comrades Marathon. And it starts even before you get there. You will be coming, whether you're staying along the beachfront from Schlange, if you're coming in from Pietermaritzburg, wherever you're coming from, no one can get dropped off right by the start. So we are all coming from wherever, and we all get dropped off between 500 and 800 meters from the start. It's all cordoned off. And from that point on, you are amongst people that have worked just as hard as you, 20,000 of them. Bright lights, music's playing, there are announcers that are there just getting the mood going, and it really does feel much more like you are on your way to Loftus to watch Sundowns getting beaten by Chiefs than it feels like you are going to watch or go and run a race. Okay? So it's special from the moment you get there. You walk into your seating pens, meeting new people, old people, recognizing people from races that you've run, and then about 15 minutes before the race starts, they will drop the barriers between all the seating pens, and everybody comes together. If you're near the front of the race, you can actually feel those people, like everybody wants to come. And if you're at the back of the race, you can just see there's just so many people. You can feel that excitement building, nervous energy. We are all standing there and we are all excited and scared. It's like this real mix of emotions. Then we'll have Shosholoza. Then we have Chariots of Fire. And we have the national anthem. And all the while, I'm actually getting goosebumps there just feeling it. And you really just start to get into like a coiled spring. You just want to go. Then you'll have Max Trimborn's Cockcrow. Boom, the cannon goes. And for most of us, we just stand and wait. You see the heads moving, and you're just waiting for your turn. And I promise you, that's the most anxious wait that you will have. Because now, you just want to get started. And you have to be so careful when your turn comes and you cross that start line that you get yourself under control and you don't chase the time that you've lost. So the first really piece of good news I can give you is that as a novice, you won't understand how this feels. But until last year, if you were in G&H, you had to wait for 10 minutes before it was your turn to cross the start line. And Comrades is gun to mat. So that means when that cannon goes, the time stops. But now it's 10 minutes have gone. You should be a whole kilometer and a bit down the drag, and here you are, so it used to be hectic. So now it's 5 minutes, which is still a lot of time, but 5 minutes is very manageable. But you have to keep yourself calm. You can't try and catch that 5 minutes up before you get off the highway at 45th cut. Okay? So you've really got to calm yourself down. Okay? The first 30 kilometers of Comrades are going to determine what happens in the last 30 kilometers. The team at Coach Perry love listening to people coming to me at the expo and asking me, yes, I've tried to run this time. This is the 4th year I'm running Comrades. Please help me out. And I start telling them what to do. They go, no, I can't. I've tried. I can't run that slow. I can't. And then I have to pull the app out. Then I have to show them that last year they ran even slower than that in the last 30K. So if you can't run that slowly, how come you're running so slowly in the second? And the reason is because if you don't run easy enough in the first 30, you can't run in the last 30. I'm not expecting, and it's not possible to feel strong, fresh, amazing in the last 30 kilometers. That's not the goal. The goal is to get into the last 30 kilometers and I can run. Because if you can run, most of those last 30 Ks are downhill. And the most amazing thing happens in here if you can run. Because even if you're tired, even if you're sore, if you're trying to finish Comrades, you need to average just over 8 minutes per K. And on the downs, if you're running, you're going to be doing 7:30. So if you know you need to run 8 minutes a K to finish, and you see a 7:30 on your watch, that makes you feel like, oh, and then the next K, 7:30. And the next K, in K3 I had to take a walk, 7:55. Each kilometer that's under 8 gives you that strength to keep going. That only happens if you can run. Right. So, people always tell me they can't run that slowly, and then I told you when you get to Fields Hill, you are going to feel a million bucks. You're going to tell yourself at least once on Comrades Race Day, it is so nasty misfit, I'm never letting myself get unfit again. We don't keep many of our Comrades' promises. But you must not take advantage of it. You must make sure that you run easy enough on those climbs in the first 30 kilometers so that you can run. Okay. If you do that, that is half the battle. Okay. So, how do we approach race day? Well, you start your day with a promise. Now the next slides are for the people that are starting in the last 2-3 batches in the second wave on the 14th of June. You are going to lose those 5 minutes. And you are going to be anxious. But you are going to make yourself a promise, okay, that for every second of the rest of the 12 hours that I've got left, I will take a step that will get me closer to Peter Bradsworth. The promise you will write on your arm is, I will not stop. You can and you must walk. But you must never stop moving. Okay? That is the first promise that you're going to make yourself on race day. And that is how you are going to save yourself or stop yourself from losing time. We're not going to stop. When we get to the hills, we are going to run, walk the hills. You're not going to be stubborn and try and run as far as you can. You don't start walking when you need to walk, then it's too late. We are going to run, walk, Comrades, and we are going to run, walk the hills. Okay? When we get to the refreshment stations, we are not going to stop and get what we need. We are going to get to the refreshment stations, and then you walk. And when you walk, you are going slowly enough to take everything you need to consume it, and then you start running again. That whole process should take you roughly a minute. It can take you a little bit longer, that's okay, as long as you are moving. There are 46 refreshment stations. If you stop at half of them, you are going to lose 10 minutes. Gone. It's not coming back. If you stop at the refreshment stations, you're going to blow at least 10 minutes. That means that instead of having 11:55, because remember it's going to take you 5 minutes to get across, so instead of having 11 hours 55 to finish Comrades, now you've only given yourself 11:45. Then you will have friends and family that will come to watch. Maybe correctional services will send down some people to set up some tables for you so that you can get the things that you like along the route. When you get there, same principle applies. If you stop there, start high-fiving people, in the first half, you'll waste time because you'll want to tell them. You'll take 2 minutes to tell them how lucky you feel and how amazing Comrades is, how much you love it. And in the second half, you'll waste 5 minutes sitting in a chair there moaning about, I saw you, I should have done more training, and I went too fast at the beginning. Every time you stop and talk to people, it's like a time walk. You blink and 2 minutes are gone. So if you stop 2 or 3 times to speak to family, that's another 5 minutes gone. Now, you only gave yourself 11 hours and 40 minutes to finish Comrades. And then, those physios pulling you in there. And you saw, and you stand in a queue, waiting. And it feels like a while they're rubbing you. And then 5 minutes later, 6 minutes later, you leave. And it feels like it for about 4 steps. Boom, and then it's all. So it didn't do anything, but it stole 5 minutes from you. So don't stop there. If you've got lots of time to finish, if you're a 10-hour guy, gee, man, there you are. Lean up against there, let them give you a rub. But if you are tight on the time, don't. Because now, instead of 11 hours, 14 hours, suddenly 11 and a half hours. So you turn a 12-hour Comrades into an 11 and a half hour Comrades. And I do not want you lying there at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, geez, if I just hadn't done whatever. So we will not, remember that's the promise, do not stop. Every step will be a step that gets me closer to doing it. And then, Comrades is also going to end with a promise. Because when you get to between 65 and 70 kilometers, you're going to be thinking, that person, that friend that talked me into doing Comrades, you're going to think that's not really a friend of mine. You're going to be asking yourself, what on earth was I thinking? And in that moment, you're going to make yourself this promise. You're going to say, I don't care what happens today. Today I'm finishing Comrades. Because if I finish Comrades today, I'm never, ever, ever am coming back. And that promise will last you for about 3 minutes after you finish Comrades, where you'll turn to a complete stranger and go, yes, you know what, like next year, we just do this. No. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot. That's why I actually love this testimonial so much, because that's what it's for. It's for that moment. When you get to 65, 70 Ks and you feel like, this is it. We're going to do this thing. We're going to make it. And it is my absolute favorite thing about Comrades. When you will be 2 different people. When you start Comrades and when you finish Comrades, you're not the same person. One of my favorite things about Comrades, absolute favorite things about Comrades, is that for every single person who does that journey, there comes a point on the race where you stop caring about what your time is, where you finish. You don't care what color your medal is. You just want to get to the finish and have a medal. All of us. The hard is what makes it great. It is hard, but it is doable. We sit and we watch this race on TV every single year. So as much as I may have made you a little bit scared tonight, that's just because I want you to take it seriously. But thousands and thousands and thousands of people finish the race. And the hard and how hard it is what keeps bringing us back. Makes us forget about our promise that we never, ever going to do this again. And guys, you will never, on this journey, you will never be alone. You will always have runners with you. And you'll be blown away by the spectator support that you get. And you'll be blown away by how every single person that you see and that cheers for you is so heavily invested in you getting to the finish line. And I don't really want to plan to be lost, but honestly, Comrades is truly the one place where being lost is better than being first. That stadium is quite empty when the winner comes in. And then what happens is as people finish, their people come, and then we stay. Because we want to see the people coming in that last 15 minutes. And the noise in the last 5 minutes of Comrades, because people are so desperate for as many people as possible to finish. It's, as the youth like to say, it's a vibe. If you are in that last 10 minutes, it's quite amazing. Okay. So I am going to come back to answer some questions, but we do want to get through the program, because it is a longish program, as you can really tell. So next up is Santa Vamane, who you may well know better as Better You're Next. He is a Comrades ambassador, and he's here to share his Comrades story with you for some inspiration.
Thank you, Coach. So you will not do I'm sharing that. Hey. Yeah, it's quite an honor to be here. I'm going to share a little bit of my story, my journey in Comrades. Running in general. So for me, how it started is I used to, go to the gym when I look good, the muscles and so on. And yeah, the subscription got to me. I couldn't keep up with the subscription. So I sort of looked around as to what is it that I can use as an alternative to what I'm doing now. And I was told, no, come to running. It's cheap. Yeah. Yeah, so I started running unstructured training, of course. Didn't know anything. I still have a lot to learn, but what then happens is I needed to do something. I needed a challenge because, I can't just run there. I see people running, going to races. I've never raced, I've never registered to any. So I was told that there is Comrades. Comrades, okay. What is Comrades? Didn't know much about it. So I started inquiring as to how do you enter Comrades, how do you start? How do you become one of them? Just go on the website and register. Okay, sure, I'll do that. But then, before I knew it, I was told that before you actually go to Comrades, you need to qualify. Now, I must Google what a qualifier is now. So I found out what a qualifier is, and I picked the very first race I could find. Well, it was influenced by one of the guys who was staying somewhere in National I used to work with, and that race was the iconic Soweto Marathon. I managed to register, fine. Hey, nobody warned me, nobody told me that, hey, you try to do one first, you know. Try some other race. You know there are 10Ks, and I've never run those, I don't know what that is. So, I'm like, what could go wrong? I went, fine. And carrying the straight. it was quite a challenge because first of all, I did not have a specific, training. I did not have a mentor, didn't know anyone in the running community except for a few guys that were running at work, and they were so far away from my, local hood, or so to say. So I couldn't train with them. I used to just hear what they're doing and I would try. So it was trial and error. So I went to Soweto with my 10th number. Didn't even know that there are licenses. License for what is in the car. So I actually went there, and I really did well. Well, for the first 10Ks or so, because I remember my first 10Ks was around 59 minutes, and second half started at 2:17, and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And then from there, the wheels fell off. Everything, yeah. You know what? I started to understand why some gentleman at the start of the race was asking me, what is your target time? And when I said 4:30, and the guy said, yeah, you must be really fast. Long story short, I ran into the second half in 3 hours and 1 minute. So from crossing the halfway mark at 2:17, I ended up at 5:80. No qualifiers, so obviously it's outside. And now, yeah, look, for that race, I earned a lot of things, and one of them was a big black toe, because I did not have the proper running shoes. I had a lot of scars anywhere where friction was, because I never understood why people were handing over Vaseline to people. I'm like, what is the Vaseline for? Didn't know. And one other thing that confused me the most is like, why are there people handing over household? What is that for? Didn't know. And probably that's what I needed. That's why I couldn't move anymore. The gels and whatnot was new to me. I relied solely on cool and whatever that was provided on the water points. So, as a pansera or a bonus, I got what they call ITB. I had to Google what ITB is. I was sidelined for quite a while. The better half of 2018, I could not run. So, I was under the impression that I'm going to run a qualifier, go to Comrades in 2018. Didn't happen. Okay, so I had my fair share of running around with physios, until I found one that managed to help me. But by then, 2018 dream was, and remember, I'm not training properly, so I'm injured, so I had to start afresh. As if that was not enough, I did not go and do the 10K, 21 that, I was supposed to do. I just went straight to say, I pressed the reset button, we're going to qualify again. When I was now sort of healed from the injury. I did that, found a couple of races that I could run, and qualifying was still tough, but I found a legal cheat. I went to those races where you could run your 48 ultra, but you still qualified with the 50 kilometers. so you've got like a spare 2 kilometer yard to play with. And when I did qualify, I was still using, generic Google type of training plans that I could obviously find on the net. Went to Comrades, qualified, but the story again of not, trying to listen and learn from other people who have done it before, never attended, like seminar like this way, tools, that this is what you have to happen. Well, listen or not, it's another story, but at least you have the information. I didn't have that information. I got to Devon, I took a bus to Devon, got there at night, it was a 9-hour bus. Went all the way, places are pretty nice until it got, I didn't know what to do. 9 hours, but fine. A cousin of mine went to the station to fetch me, bless him. Went to the hotel, but I had to eat. And the guy said to me, no, there's a quite a nice spot where we can go eat, Remember, it's Friday night, so I was like, there's a place called Ayati. Let's just go there, and have a meal. Oh, well, we're there. I was the only one who was not having fun because I was scared going to Comrades. My bottle of water there, it's windy. The change of temperature from Gauteng to Devon. I'm dealing with that now. I'm not properly, dressed for the occasion. They're having fun, braai and all sorts of things there. I'm chilled and then I went home and slept. Fine. The following day, I did not feel well. Honestly, I was feverish. It's a minor thing, Let me go to Wamtlanga, there's a scam somewhere around there. I remember at the pharmacy, I told the pharmacist there that, I'm looking for, a remedy that cannot, stop me from running, but, can still help me feel better. The guy gave me, I can't even remember what it was, but I was fine, but not fine. I convinced myself and wifey over here to say, I know, what, if I'm not well, I'll just drop out. It's fine. Race day came, all the things that Coach Perry was saying there about the start, the emotions and all that, and on we went. And we moved, it was so nice, taking pictures, the few kilometers, I think it's the 30 that he was referring to, the first date, and it felt like easy. Yeah. And the suffering started. Suffered all the way until, round about 70-ish or so, where it started to hit home that, what, this is what they meant when they said Comrades is tough, I was still stubborn enough to push through, with the flow, by the way, and I managed to cross, I think it's the last cut-off point, with an hour or so to spare, but it wasn't of my own doing. There was a guy who was pacing there, who, because you don't know anything, he just said, what, you guys are not going to make the last cut-off point, so we need to move. From moving 7:30 to 8 minutes, I know they were like, 5:45. We're moving because we were scared. Like we were told that you're not going to make the cut-off. And when we crossed, obviously, I started with an up run 2019. At the top there, we realized that this is plus minus 6 kilometers to be within an hour. That's when I'm like, this guy is going to, he's going to kill me. I'm not going to make it if I follow this guy. And I decided to do, like he was saying, the run walk. I knew I had. That's when I started being confident that I'm going to finish. And of course, I finished, with 5 minutes to spare. And I was a Comrades Marathon. So that's how my Comrades Marathon started. Fast forward to now, I'm working on getting my 6th, I've got what I call a half three, 5 Comrades finishes. And it is doable, but I think for a lot of us, especially novices, it's not like we don't know what is expected of us. It's just that we listen and still do what we want to do. Right now, we've got coaches, we've got all sorts of presentation, you know. Coaches very organized, he's got a presentation, unlike me. Only have a picture out there. But the information went here and, you know, the other way, nobody's listening. So that's where the problem. So if you were to take anything out of my story, you know, the mistakes I've made, I can tell you that the answers, you know, to what I made as a mistake was in that presentation. For starters, I had no business going to ART because, like you know, the Friday before Comrades, that's where you can actually get some sleep because Saturday, whether you like it or not, Comrades is gonna keep you awake the whole night, so you're not gonna have much sleep, you know. Two, I was one of the lucky guys who did not end up with the tent he was referring to, the medical tent, you know, running with fever. Like they're saying that anything that is above your waistline, you shouldn't take a risk. You should make sure that you sit it out. There will always be another Comrades. I didn't do that. I was lucky to go on and finish, you know. And other things that, you know, I should have done better was to, you know, take my time, you know, learn the ways of Comrades, respect the distance. I did not do that. I was at first show. I'm nobody after. I just said I want to. The saying Comrades, I'm going there. I managed, but it was a bit, you know, risky, you know. So to my fellow novices, I know that you got this. You're going to finish it, provided you listen and you do the right thing, you know. To back that up, I can tell you one thing. For a marathon, for you to qualify, you need roughly 7 minutes. You need 7 minutes or so. And I know most of you are faster than that. Just to qualify, you know. And Comrades is plus minus 8 minutes. So you're going there to run per kilometer a minute more for every kilometer entire distance. So you have no business not finishing if you don't go there and experiment with your pace. Thinking, I feel like the finisher is now a bit slower for me. Let me rather go. You know, the head is a bit raw. There's a silver or something like that. You know, now you're changing the whole thing. You know your pace, but because you're there, now you're trying to be clever. You know, the attire, like they are saying, you know, trying new things like your shoes, but you know that, you know, the shoe that you qualified with is still in good condition for you to go on and finish, but you want a picture. You want to look fair, whatnot, but it's not gonna save you well. So half of the things that are gonna, you know, stand in your way, you know, for you to go and finish and get that medal are common things, but most of them are the things that you're going to do to yourself, honestly. I know that you know, unforeseen circumstances, you get injured, you can't move, there will be another Comrade. You get sick before, there will be another Comrade. Fine, but most of the things is, you know, you get there now, you want that dish that you've never, you know, tried before, you know, because this special buffet or whatever. Now you eat things that you not, you know, you get what I'm saying. I was actually spooked, I think it's a Comrade year 2024 or 25. I actually correct my mind. I'm not eating anything. I'll eat after Comrades. Whatever is there that is nice, it will wait. I'm not doing that because I know a lot of guys, even faster guys, I won't mention names, who like at 6 kilometers, they wouldn't continue because now their body is not having it. Like you need a room, you're doing all sorts of things. You know, you can't take it anymore. So you drop out, you lose, you know, how many months? 6 months of training. The base training 3 months, and then there's 3 months of real training, which you have just entered in this month. Now you spend a lot of money trying to get Comrades. Now you get it there. You wake up in the morning, take your class, go to the starting line, and then you drop off. It's very painful. Not that I'm not a pain, but I was lucky enough to have all of my Comrades, you know, going smoothly after I had learned my lesson. So, yeah, that is my story, and I am very, very, very privileged to be here. I'm honored. I know there are think there are big numbers here. People who've got much better stories to tell, but I am here. That's why I'm very thankful for this opportunity for you guys, to give me an ear and listen to me. And with that said,
Thank you, brilliant. And all novices will soon be joining you. So next up, as I said, nutrition is such a key part of race day, making sure you've got enough energy, making sure that you've practiced it. Next up, we've got Vicky de Villiers, and she will talk us through what you should and shouldn't be doing.
Thank you everybody for your time. I'm going to make it short and sweet. You've got a lot of instructions that you need to go to sleep about, right? So just add a little bit of nutrition to that. What we're going to do is I'm going to just create for you a picture where we want you to go with this, right? So we need to start training now, nutrition training, for where we're going to go. So I just want to picture where we're going to end, so don't get too scared. I'll tell you how to get there. So what we need to understand is that our body will adapt to certain things that you will do in your training leading up to college. Your body will adapt to the amount of food that you eat, because it takes a lot of food to run college. Your body will adapt to the amount of fluid that you take whilst you're running. Your body will adapt to if you take any electrolyte drinks or sodium. Your body will adapt for the feeding whilst we're running, because it's like a biathlon, right? It's a different skill you have to learn, and then the running and eating at race intensity. But if you don't train that, the body will not adapt to that. And that's the best I can wish for you guys is what we're going to do on the day of Comrades, we need to train out, because I know your gut is trainable and it will train whatever you use it to accept. And that's what we need to start doing. So everybody's got his own, nutrition is quite individual. So everybody's doing his own products, his own program, but you need to train for what you're going to do. So with our practice, there will be gastrointestinal risk. I mean, Lindsay covered what makes us stop running on the day of Comrades, and sometimes it is the stomach. The carb absorption will be limited, therefore the fatigue will be quite soon in the race. So we want for all of you to run and be able to eat for as long as possible in the race on that day. So we're going to train the gut. So, where are we going with this? So on race day, you should be able to tolerate a certain amount of carbohydrates in the gut. So the recommendation is usually anything from 70 to 90, for some of us 60 grams. I will get to how we're going to get there. To create for you a picture of what 60 grams of carbohydrate look like, it is, if you're going to do it with fluid, it's about a liter of a small stream. Or it's about 4 slices of bread. Sounds not that bad. Do it for 10 hours in a row, then it becomes a little bit more tricky. So therefore, we need to train it now so that we can get there. I want you to be able to still have a steady pace after 60 kilometers. If you're going to listen to everything that Lindsay said, we will still be able to run, but then we need to have fuel to run that last bit of the race. I want us to train this so that you avoid your stomach to shut down, that you feel you're building like a nice dam in your stomach, right? Layer for layer for layer, but nothing moves out of the stomach. I want you to be able to recover within 24 to 48 hours after your training run, so that we can keep on training. Alright, so we're going to do the recovery. I want you to feel in control of the fueling so that you don't have to listen to everybody around you. That's very clear on the day, that's got a lot of solutions. And if you cannot eat after running 50 kilometers currently, then we're not gut training yet. Your gut still needs to train. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go through a little bit of numbers. Don't get scared of the numbers. I'm going to illustrate it with an example. So the recommendation is that why I give the numbers is to individualize it. Alright? To make you understand that everybody is a little bit different from the other body. But what it says is that if you eat before races, if you have the luxury of 3 hours before the race, you must eat 2 to 3 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight. Let me translate that a bit. Remember, carbohydrate is starch and fruits and sugars and those kind of things. So if I weigh, say, 70, it means I must eat 70 grams, is 1 gram per kilo, so I must eat 140 grams of carbohydrate 2 to 3 hours before my race, in that 2 to 3 hours. Guys, one slice of bread is got 15 grams of carbohydrate. So if I weigh 70, I need to eat 140. That's 10 slices of bread. If I only have 1 to 2 hours before that race, the indication is 1 to 2 grams per kilo. So still if I weigh 70, that's 70 grams of carbohydrate. That's 4 to 5 slices of bread. And now you're going to tell me, but I can run without that. I know you can. You can do what you teach you how to do. What we're trying to do here is to make you better on the day. Because this is how physiology works. Alright. So where you are now, if you're not eating at all, start eating. Even if it's a half slice of bread. I don't start. Right? Not protein, not eggs, bread, rice, leftover pasta from last night, fruit, banana, fruit juice, sports drinks, whatever. Alright? So if you're not eating anything, start eating small amounts. Is it going to be comfortable? No. That's why you're not doing it, right? Once it becomes comfortable, the half slice of bread becomes 1 slice of bread. Once that's comfortable, a full slice of bread becomes full slice with a banana. Then you add the honey. So choose a food that will be comfortable for you, that you're familiar with, you know how your body reacts. Anything from more white to bread, to porridges, to cereals, doesn't matter. But start. And then you work out. Alright? So that's important. So I put that for you here. So if I weigh, this is for a 65k runner. If you then eat 2 to 3 hours before, you need 2 to 3 grams of carbohydrate. Remember on Comrades Day, you'll be awake 2 to 3 hours before, if you ever went to sleep, alright? So if you're awake, you just will eat. It's a good way to maybe spend the time. So that would be a large bowl of oats, about 1.5 cup of oats. You will add milk to that, banana to that, honey to that, and 400 ml of fruit juice. That is then the breakfast. If it's 1 to 2 hours before, then you a little bit smaller, so 2 slices of bread with a banana, a tablespoon of honey, and a little bit of juice. This is what I put up there. Remember, this is where you're working towards those volumes. You're not starting with it tomorrow, you're going to swear it, alright? You work slowly but surely towards that. Is it doable? Yes, it's doable. Do you need to do it before every run? No. But you need to train your body to adjust to that amount. So before long run, definitely, and then before one of the other runs, you need to train with these things. Otherwise, the body will never adapt. You will never be comfortable with that. Alright, so that's before training. If you look at the during training targets, okay, there's a lot to be said about nutrition on the day. So the during training targets is what I said, the 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Again, you need to decide what your goals are. If you want to compete these things, if you really want to win this, you're going to have to push the carbohydrate to 90 grams an hour, because remember, I'm running faster, so therefore I use more carbohydrate as fuel source. If I just want to complete this thing, you can run about 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour. It's you must work with it. But again, the same principle. If you're not currently taking any carbohydrate, you start with something small to provide 15 grams of carbohydrate. 15 grams is half a banana, it's 2 dates if you're going to eat dates. It's usually half an energy bar if you're going to run with that. It's usually a gel, or just maybe less than a gel. If you drink usually a sports drink for that, it would be about 250 grams of sports drink. So you try 15 grams of carbs consistently per hour, every hour, until you're comfortable. Then you double it. Then you go to 30. Once that is comfortable, you go to 45 grams per hour. Once that is comfortable, you go to 60. Once that's comfortable, you can venture up to 80. Because then you know you've got to strain. I don't say that on Comrades Day you're definitely going to use 90 grams. But you know that I can if I need to. And that's a whole different attitude then to run on. The second thing I want to say on this is, guys, you need to train with it, and if you, please do it with consistency and start early. We need to eat whilst we still can eat. Because there will be a time on that Comrades Day that you don't want to see food ever again. Right? That when you reach that point, you've got enough on board that you can finish the race. But if you're going to wait until you need it, it's probably too late, because you're not there to eat, you're there to run. Alright? So please start early. Early, I mean within the first hour. Start feeding smaller amounts. It'll make your day much, much better. So we want that. We want the fluid to be there. The fluid is quite individual. Alright? Some of you will need a liter of fluid, some can run on 300 mils of fluid, some on 400 mils. I'll get back to the fluid just now. The same with sodium or using electrolyte stuff. Remember, guys, most of the stuff that we eat on the road has already got salt in it. Your jello's got salt in it, the bars has got salt in it. So don't be too eager with electrolytes. My problem with that is sometimes you're busy with electrolytes, but you forget the fuel. So we drink an electrolyte drink, but there's no carbohydrate in the electrolyte, or some of the electrolyte drinks. So make sure that you fuel first. That's the most important. So I want you to get there with no nausea, no sloshing in the stomach, you know, that look. I want you to be able to eat consistently, that there's no shutdown of the system, and that you can keep the energy for longer. Alright, that's where we need to go to. So if you look again at our 65 kilogram runner, what it would look like. So if you're going to add for 60 grams of carbohydrate an hour, you would have to take within an hour 1 gel. Then you're going to add maybe half a sports bar, some jelly sweets maybe, or maybe then half a banana. You will add then about a cup of sports drink. That will give you 60 grams of carbohydrate. So you need to decide if I'm on the hour going to have a picnic and have all those at once, or am I going to every 20 minutes have some of it? That's something you need to decide. Because you can train your gut whatever's comfortable for you. Not what Nikki says, what's comfortable for you on the road. If you look at the 80 grams of carbohydrate per hour, all I did in that second example where we upped the carbs, I added another gel. The same with the others. So sometimes it does help to have a mixture of things so it's not the same taste over and over and over again. Especially if you run a marathon currently and you struggle to get to the third or fourth gel. Then you know, Comrades is not going to only be gels, because it's going to be hard. Alright. So that's the theory. If you then ask, should I do drink, should I do solid, should I do liquids? Whatever suits you best, but train with it. There's not a golden, correct one for everything. What I indicated on here, can you see that last column? Remember I said we need to get to 60 grams, but our first stop is to get to 30 per hour. So if you're only going to do sports drink, you will have to drink 400 to 500 moles of the drink every hour. That's a lot of liquid. That's a lot of liquid. So sometimes it doesn't make sense because you can overhydrate. So that's why it sometimes makes sense to combine the liquid with a bit of solid so that you don't have to overdrink of it. But if you, for instance, going to do bananas, 1 to 1.5 banana is 30 grams of carbs. I want you to be on 60. Right? So that's 2 to 3 bananas every hour, 10 hours. Right? 20 bananas that you carry. So you need to be practical in terms of what you can carry with you. Some of the stuff will be on the tables, that's okay. But be practical. You can do it with gels, you can do it with those chews that we sometimes have that dissolve quite easy in your mouth. You can do it with jelly beans, energy bars. So any kind of, some people do it with Marmite sandwiches. And it's okay. But you need to train with it. Otherwise we don't know how you're going to react to it. Right, so that's important. So start early, be consistent, and be flexible. That's the easiest way. Alright, in terms of the fluid intake, this is very individual. So I cannot tell you everybody should drink this amount of fluid. But what you can do, if you wondering, am I drinking enough or not? The first thing is weigh yourself before you go out for a run. When you come back, take off the sweaty clothes, towel dry, weigh yourself on the same scale. It's not about how much I weigh, it's about how much weight you've lost. So if you weigh on a scale that's wrong, I want that same wrong scale to weigh you again, because it will make the same mistake again. And then you check how much you've lost. If you're losing more than 2% of your body weight, you probably should drink a little bit more. If you pick up weight in the run, you're eating and drinking too much, you should start running and stop eating and drinking. But that's the way to determine your individual sweat rate. Because people sit in front of me telling me about their experiences daily. I'm privileged to hear those stories. But I always smile when I hear, but I don't need it. I can run at 21 on no water and no fuel. And I bet you can, and I can bet you can go much further without fuel and without fluid. I mean, if we're in a crisis, we can even go much, much further. But do you need to do it? Do you need to suffer that much? Or do you want a good, happy run? So determine your own individual sweat rate and go according to that. The sweat rate we determine by weight loss during your run. That we assume is sweat. We don't lose fat whilst you're on the road as such. The other thing that you can use is look at the color of your urine. So if the urine is a very dark yellow, like most of your tops, if it's that yellow, it's dehydration. So it must be very light straw color. That usually tells you you're good with hydration. Okay, some thoughts on these electrolytes. I'm not against electrolytes. I'm just a little bit wary of the craze that's going on about electrolytes currently, that most people think we can't get through a normal day without drinking electrolytes, and we can. So a lot of the stuff that you eat and drink on a daily basis has got a lot of salt in it. I think some of you will hear from your dietitians that please lower the salt intake, please lower the salt intake. That's what we always say. So we take a lot of salt through our diet, and every supplement you take has got salt in it. So if you consider taking a separate electrolyte, you need to count all those salt contents of all the products you're using. You need to add that up before you decide, I'm going to take the electrolyte. My main issue here is electrolytes is not fuel. So a lot of the electrolyte drinks that people aim for, that they choose, is sugar-free, because there's a craze about everything that's sugar-free. So we buy sugar-free electrolyte drinks and we think it's fuel. It's not fuel. It's just fluid. Alright, so make sure that you understand that. Okay, recovery. So recovery is not necessarily on Comrades Day. On Comrades Day, I wish for all of you to, after your run, be able to start eating quite soon, have a nice hearty meal. I wish that upon all of you, because the sooner you eat, the better you feel the next day. This recovery principles, these are for the day-to-day runs. That's what's going to keep you in your runs. That's what's going to make you feel, okay, I'll go out tomorrow. Even if I'm tired, I will go out and run again. And recovery also determines quite a bit of your immune status, so that you not get sick too easily. Okay, so 3 things. We need to take carbohydrate. There the numbers is again 1 gram per kilogram. You know now if you weigh 60, that's 4 slices of bread. If you weigh 70, that's about 5 slices of bread and so forth. We need to add protein to that. So add the eggs to that, add the milk, have Mars or Marzi, have any of those kind of things to add protein. The protein is for muscle repair. And then the other thing is the liquid for hydration. That's the 3 things that needs to be in the recovery meal. And dominantly, we want carbohydrate to be part of it. So 4 slices of toast, 2 eggs, not 4 eggs, 2 slices of toast. More starch than protein in that meal, and then with a liquid. And we try for you to get to that meal as soon as it's comfortable, but if we can get it within an hour after you finish your run, that's brilliant. Okay? If you don't have time, because a lot of you run in the morning and then it's quite a rush to get to wherever you need to be, then just start the recovery with something like a chocolate flavored milk, or start it with, if you're normally a coffee drinker, have a cappuccino, because that will give nutrients and the body will start the recovery. But the body is going to keep on breaking down stuff until you eat something. If You eat something, you'll switch it around, you get to work, then you can have your breakfast on your boss's account. All right, on their clock. But start the recovery as quickly as possible. Okay, so what would it look like then? Within the first 30 to 60 minutes, again, if I weigh 65 kgs, it will be 2 steri stampies, or you can have a peanut butter sandwich then with 1 flavored milk, or if you hate milk altogether, you can have 2 hot cross buns. Aren't you excited? It's getting to Easter, we're going to have hot cross buns again. So 2 of those buns with maybe a protein in a protein powder shake that you can use. Right, so see the carbohydrate protein combination, and that is always liquid to it. I cannot tell you how important this is for your training load that's coming up. It makes a huge, huge, huge difference. Okay, the last thing I just want to say is practice, practice, practice. So you've heard a lot of things. You need to go home and make a list of this is what I'm going to pay attention to first, second, and third. And this is what I'm going to work on. But understand that the gut, like the calf muscle, like your legs, like anything, is trainable, but you need to train it. It's not going to train on its own itself. Gradually, you start with carbohydrate. If you're not eating before, you start eating before. If you're eating before but not enough, you slowly increase it. If you're not taking carbs during training, you start doing it. If you're already taking glucose too little, you're slowly going to increase it until you get where you need to go to. Do I need to do it with every run? No. At least twice a week. Okay? Simulate the race intensity, train with the fluid that you're going to take so that you learn how to drink whilst you're running and learn the feeling thereof. Because sometimes the feeling of fluid in the stomach makes you uncomfortable, then you stop drinking. And then we dehydrate quite quickly into a race. Practice the big breakfast timing. When should I eat the breakfast? How close to the race? Those kind of things. And then the gut training. Unfortunately, it takes about 8 to 10 weeks to train a gut. It's not a day's work. So it's not a pasta party the night before. It's stuff you need to do now. And you don't have to be perfect, but we need to be better. That's the only advice I have. All right. Thanks so much. Okay, the last thing is then, in order for you to train, just keep a diary. So after every one of your runs, you write down, did I hit the carb target? Did I hit the 15 grams, or the 30, or the 45, or the 60, or whatever you are? Did I tolerate the fluids that I was taking, or did I not? How much, so that you learn from the experience? Did I need more sodium? When did I start getting fatigued? Was it a 10K today, tomorrow was it 15? Then we're going somewhere with this, right? Ask yourself, what would I change in the next one? And then you change it, and you practice in the long run. If you can change these things to get to those end points that are in place. All right. That's all from my side. Thanks so much for your attention. We will be able to answer questions after this. Thanks.
And last but not least, from Comrades' side, we've got Mrs. Nomstuka Moshimane, who is the Vice Chairperson of the Comrades Marathon Association, and she is here to talk to us about something very close to her heart.
Good evening, everybody. Those know me, I'm from Pietermaritzburg, the home of Comrades in KZN. So I'm very happy to see Benada be with you tonight and to share the Comrade spirit with you while we are trying to get ourselves to the start line on the 14th of June. My name is Nontuo Gamashimane, and I'm the Vice Chairperson of the CMA, but also I'm the Chairperson of a committee which is called CSI Charities. And it's quite a joy to stand in front of you today in the common spirit of being united, a spirit of endurance, of compassion and purpose. So today I'm going to talk to you about being a Comrades runner, but running for charity, running for the cause, running for more than yourself. Just a short bio of myself. I'm a Comrades Marathon. I have 8 medals, and I'll be getting one training for my 9th one this year. I ran a couple of international marathons. I've swam a couple of river miles, ran a 100-miler. So ultra distance running is something quite familiar to me. I've done a couple of trail runs. And one thing I can tell about my Comrades story or journey is that it's always been for charity. I've always ran for charity, and I remember 2015, at a Novice Seminar, I was sitting like yourselves, and I listened to the presentation, and I was taken aback about the part of running for more than yourself. And ever since 2015 till today, I've never ran my Comrades without choosing to run for a charity. So, we talk about charities, and let me introduce to you the 6 charities that we have at the Comrades Marathon. We have CHOC, we have Childline, we have Community Chest, we have HACT, we have Right Against Hunger, and we have South African Honorary Rangers, which they are here tonight with us. Please visit them at the end of the session. They have some brilliant merchandise to sell to you, all in the name of fundraising for Race for Charity 2026. What's important is that as a runner, you choose which of these charities that you would like to represent at the Comrades Marathon. And they all do wonderful causes, different causes, but wonderful work in our country in South Africa. And one thing I always say is that we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. And as runners, and as passionate as we are, with the talent that we have and the gift of running, we can make a difference. Mandela did say, Nelson Mandela did say that sport has the power to change the world, and it has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in the way that little else does. And that is what we believe in Comrades, when our runners take up the challenge to, well, not even a challenge, take up the honor to run for a charity. Last year, which was 2025, I'll say all of us, meaning the committee that I lead, to all the charities, to all the runners that did choose to run for charity, to all the people that decided or chose to buy memorabilia or merchandise, all in the name of fundraising. We were able to raise 8 million rand last year, which is, I'll say in running legal, PE. So we raised that amount, and obviously this year we're hoping to raise more. But raising these funds, it all comes together with a few ways that we can raise these funds. The first way is when you are a Comrades Marathon runner and you were entering, you would have seen a link that leads you to choosing to run for charity. The second part is that you would have donated when you were entering, and then at the end they asked, do you want to donate funds to any charity? And obviously they will total up to the total of your age will be a bit more, because some of the money we've asked it to go to a donation. And then also we have Toyota Winning Car Competition, which we are so blessed to have Toyota as one of our sponsors. And they do give us a car that we're able to raffle our tickets, and we're raising funds with that ticket sales. Ticket sales are only 50 rand, and let me tell you that last year one of the people that bought the tickets, she only bought 2 tickets and she got herself a car. So maybe you can get yourself a car for 100 rand. You might be that lucky. So that's another way of fundraising, just to buy the winner car tickets. And then we also have the Mabidi merchandise, which is different things that we sell under the Mabidi umbrella, which our charities, which you would see in different races, in different seminars and workshops that we have with CMA. They'll be bringing their merchandise, and you are most welcome to buy their merchandise. And you must know that all that money, the profits, go towards fundraising. Another that we came up with the CSR, the Charity Committee, is to have an award for a club that raises the most funds collectively. And the club that won last year and was able to collect an award from us from our prestigious Comrades Marathon Award evening, Spirits of Comrades, it was the Club Run Zone, which are based in Joburg. And I'm hoping that the Department of Professional Services will give them the run for their money, by also encouraging your runners to come as a collective and raise funds for charity. And the merchandise that I was talking about, just to name a few, we have the famous Amabili beads, which I feel that each and every runner who runs Comrades at the start line should be wearing at least one bead around your neck. It's tradition, and I feel it's a good luck bead. So if you don't have a bead on you, then don't let me hear problems. We have socks and we have arm sleeves, and we understand runners, because when we make these or design this merchandise, we make it for runners. And we always try to make sure that we match, because we know runners love to look good, they love to match. So you'll find that merchandise will be of top notch. It'll be merchandise that's looking good for people to train with and wear, and we have PCAPs and all sorts of other merchandise that our charities as individuals will be selling. We spoke about winning car competition. It's so easy. It's just a matter of buying yourself raffle tickets. You can buy it online, and you can also buy it from the charities. And it's only 50 Rand, and again, you can be a winner just by taking that chance, or either just donating that 50 Rand, but maybe you'll get a car at the end of the day. The winner that won the car last year was Patricia Savage. She happens to be a runner, and she happens to have not been running Comrades last year, but she bought 2 tickets online, and she won herself a brand new, close to R500,000 Rand car. So that can be you. And the one thing I just want to say to you, if you do choose to run for charity, the Comrades Marathon gives you a thank you, or I would say it's a token of appreciation. And if you raise 6,000 rands or more, you get to get a special seeding, which what we call is a C seeding. Now this seeding, as the coach did talk about it, that it helps especially those who run at the back, who qualified with maybe F and H. You are able to be given a special seating right in the front, and as last year we did have 2 starts, and that made that the second wave, the people in the front were our green number holders and our charity runners. So if you do raise 6,000 Rand or more, you become the elite runner of the second wave. So you save your time, because again, remember, Comrades is done to that. Okay, so that is just a token of appreciation from the Comrades Marathon to give you that special seating as the charity runners. And just to close off, and the message to the runners tonight is that whether you're a novice, chasing your back-to-back medal, or you're probably wearing your green number, remember, your Comrades Marathon journey is not complete until you run for more than yourself. You run for others, you run for a bigger cause, and you run for a charity. Because Comrades is not just a race from Pietermaritzburg to Durban or vice versa. It's a race from the heart to humanity. This race in our country is very special. And it touches so many lives, and it is an intentional race, by the way. I know we all want to go overseas and run intentional races, but I always tell my runners that you are running an international race, it's just that you're not leaving the country. The world comes to us to run this special race, and as the coach said, there's no other race like the Comrades Marathon or anywhere in the world. And this is a time when we showcase ourselves as a country, as humans of South Africa, who we are to the world. And that is the day, I think, as runners, as supporters, as spectators, as people viewing from the TV, where we are so proudly South African. And we can actually add to that by just choosing to run for charity, because this is for our community in South Africa. There's so many people that need us to actually make that change. And so, with that said, when your legs grow weary, comrades, and the spirit wanes, remember, there is a child out there, there's a mother, there's a community somewhere whose hope runs along you on race day. That is what makes you not just a runner, but a hero in motion. Every single Comrades runner is a hero. But when you choose to run for a charity, you are more than that, because you are actually running for not just a medal and not just your finish, but for others. You can never repay, by the way, because they don't know you. So let us carry this legacy forward with pride. Let us continue to provide that the ultimate human race is not only about endurance, but about empathy. So let us run not just to cross the finish line, but to cross barriers of inequality, of poverty and despair. Let's run for hope, let us run for healing, and let us run for humanity. Because when we run together, every step becomes a step forward towards a better South Africa. So let us use this race to actually elevate our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. That's the formal part of the evening just about over. I'm going to hand back over to the program director, and then myself and Nikki and the other speakers will gladly answer a couple of questions before we head home. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and we'll chat again after this.